Hello everyone and welcome. It's time for another edition of Fire Emblem Heroes Sleeper Skills, the series where we take a look at skills that can be hard to find a home for. Today we'll be talking about bond skills. Bond skills take the A slot and have an equip cost of 240 skill points. They grant your unit a +5 in combat bonus to 2 stats if the unit has an adjacent ally. We only have 4 of them for now. Attack Def Bond is available from Fjorm. Attack Res can be found on Halloween Nowi and New Year's Takumi. Attack Speed is on Valentine's Lin, and Speed Defense is on New Year's Camilla. As you may have noticed, bond skills are some of the rarest in the game. Not only are they all 5-star locked, none of these units are in the normal summoning pool. Bonds can be active on both phases, giving you dual phase combat power in exchange for positioning hassle. Because bond skills are an in-combat buff, they stack with other in-combat buffs too. Bond skills are a great way to make a unit better at something they're already good at. Aggressive units enjoy the combined attack and speed of Attack Speed Bond. Tanks may want Attack Defense or Speed Defense, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, because bond skills occupy the A slot, they compete with meta-defining skills like Steady Breath or Distant Counter. This limits their usefulness on melee units at high levels of investment. Armored units without innate DC, for example, will almost always prefer the action economy of Distant Counter over the buff from a bond skill. This wouldn't be a problem if bond skills were common, but they're rare skills obtained from premium fodder and should be evaluated and compared to other skills accordingly. While bonds are an awkward pick for melee infantry and armor, I do think they're a powerful choice for flying units, cavalry, and ranged units. These units can't inherit breath skills, and most don't want to or can't use Distant Counter, making their A slot much less competitive. Let's look at some builds. As always, these aren't the only builds that use bond skills. There are just a few that I like. Up first is a budget build, Fjorm. Like many post-Brave Heroes units, Fjorm's base kit is complete. She's ready to go with little outside investment. Fjorm is far and away the most powerful of the story units, and she's a free-to-play all-star for a reason. For this build, we keep her entire base kit. All we're doing is adding an assist skill, I like reposition, but the choice is up to you, and the quick riposte seal. Her innate distant counter, respectable mixed bulk, defensive special, and the extra stats from the bond skill turn her into a reliable distant counter lance that can fit onto most any team. Is this the best build for Fjorm? No, certainly not, but it does work well enough, and she uses the stats from her bond well. Let's move on from a budget build to something, well, insane. Our subject this time is Soniki. This build requires us to sacrifice nothing less than 3 5-star units, one of whom is seasonal, and then pay an extra 200 Divine Due on top of that. It also only works when paired with a flyer ally, and you need to be adjacent to them too. I'm not gonna lie, this is a crazy amount of investment to put into a single character. It's genuinely unreasonable. If anything, this set goes to show that Intelligent Systems is being far too stingy with skills. Sure, we get some good stuff from Grand Hero Battle units, but most players can't do the kind of complete skill transplant that I'm showing off here. But I digress. The goal here is to combine a bunch of buffs and debuffs. Soniki's Legendary Refinement pairs nicely with Attack Speed Bond for a net gain of 10 attack, 5 res, and 5 speed when adjacent to a flying ally. Then we subtract 7 from the enemy's speed due to chill speed, and that brings our net speed gain to 12. Finally, we add in Res Ploy for an additional 5 effective damage. All told, Soniki, before we add in any other buffs, is effectively gaining 15 attack, 5 res, and 12 speed out of this exchange. The seals and special for this build are flexible. If you want to be more support-oriented, you can run defense or attack ploy for extra debuff output. If you just want to make Soniki hit harder, you can always add in a generic attack upgrade, or try to do something with Heavy Blade. Is this build realistic for someone who isn't spending money? No. Is it interesting? I think so. Finally, we have something a bit less exciting, but much more affordable. Jenny. Jenny is a healer who cares about 2 stats more than anything else. Her attack and res. Adding attack res bond makes a lot of sense then. On the player phase, it helps her dish out more damage, and on the enemy phase, it helps her tank enemy mages more reliably. Simple, straightforward, and effective. The weapon is flexible. Because Jenny has Wrathful Staff by default, we elect to give her weapon the Dazzling Staff Refine. The A slot is Attack Res Bond. The B slot is Wrathful Staff. Both the C and Seal are flexible, but I recommend either a double ploy setup or a double Savage Blow configuration depending on your choice of weapon. Overall, bonds are genuinely powerful. They aren't amazing on mixed or enemy phase units, but when incorporated into player phase builds, they can perform well. Although you do need to consider positioning, the advantage of dual phase, no downside combat buffs is hard to ignore. Like most recent skills, the main thing holding the Bond family down is rarity and exclusivity. Bond skills are, in my opinion, the most unreasonably rare skills in the game, at least if we look at them in power level versus accessibility terms. I sincerely hope that IS takes a look at this skill group and gives us a chance to get some of them at 4-star, or at the very least, put some into the permanent pool. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. You can find me on Twitter at DireThunderYT, so feel free to send me cool stuff or just drop by to say hello. As always, I hope to see you next time. Take care.